Hello everyone and welcome back to our show. I'm your producer Jack Tunney and we're coming to you live on tape from the Sandwich Studio in Oceanside, California. It is March 11th, 2021, and we have a great show for you today. Our sandwich will cover the new COVID relief bill that was recently passed by both houses of Congress and signed by President Biden. Now, without further ado, the hosts of the PB&J podcast.
Hey yo, welcome back to our show. You know, my name is Brandon Blackman.
And you know, my name is Peter Whitehead. We're just going to go right into the first bite for this episode. We're trying to cut back on time a little bit. So for this first bite, we're going to talk about 1 year of the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah.
Today is March 11th when we are recording, as our illustrious producer informed you. That means that exactly 1 year ago today, the WHO declared that coronavirus 2019 was a pandemic, indeed a pandemic. Yeah. Obviously, all of our lives were radically affected by that.
Yeah.
And we've all had to deal with some of the toll that has come with it. And this is a global thing. That's what I think is particularly crazy about this time period that we are living in. Pretty much globally, they've been affected by this virus. A lot of countries instituted stay-at-home orders for a long time, and we're gonna be dealing with the effects of this for a while.
On the exact opposite of that, like, it was so global but also so individual. Like, every single person had their own individual experience with this, you know, all along the same lines, but every single person you talk to will mention something that happened, something that had to change, maybe someone they lost, someone who went through the coronavirus, you know, personally. So it's individual and global, and it's very crazy like that. We don't usually see things like that. Yeah, no,
this is first time in our lives that obviously something like this has happened. But you know, to affect the entire globe, those are rare world events.
It's different
that affects the entire globe.
Even like World War II. Yeah, you know, like it's not the same.
Yeah, because I mean, more countries were affected by this than the Second World War.
Yep.
So I just wanted to, you know, give some updates on it, on the pandemic. As of today, the total number of people who have caught coronavirus is nearly 30 million, 29.2 million to be exact. The total deaths as of yesterday is 528,829. 500,000 people in this country alone. 500,000 families, you know.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just take a look at the graph that we have shown a couple times on this show, from the New York Times, Mr. Producer.
Is it up?
It is up.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out a couple things about this graph for you guys. Obviously,
yikes, dude.
Obviously, we're much lower than we were, you know, January time. And this, you know, somewhat has to do with the vaccinations that have happened. But yeah, we're down 16% in transmissions.
I mean, down a massive amount just from the that third peak. But
yeah,
look at the characteristics of that peak, dude.
Yeah,
it slowed down, exploded again, and then.
Well, you can kind of see from this the measures that we took. You know, initially we were all at home, and there's kind of there's an incline at first when the initial pandemic hits. Mm-hmm. There's a steady decline, and then we start opening up. Right? Look at the times.
Yeah.
July, August.
Yep.
Start opening up. It goes back up again. Crack down again. Starts to even out again. And then we get to November, December, January when really a lot of states had begun laxing certain protocols and
holiday season, of course.
Yeah,
I mean
that too, of course, going to see your family, big gatherings for Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner,
and it's all visible right there. It's all right there in the graph and the lines.
You could physically see it, and I think that's crazy. But we're obviously now on the downward trend. 16% down for cases, 30% in deaths and hospitalizations, which is good, but again, we're not out of the woods.
Yeah. And you have to thank the vaccine science, right?
Exactly. And we're going to talk a little bit about the vaccines as well. You can go ahead and pull that graph, Jack. So yesterday, the CDC reported that 62.5 million Americans have received at least one dose of a vaccine. That's about 20% of our population.
Nice.
The same report says that 32.9 million Americans are fully vaccinated, which means they've gotten both shots and they're completely immune to the disease.
I wish we had like a soundboard. I wish we could get like claps. I want like a round of applause, honestly, because it is significant. Also, it's significant that like it's not just elderly people. Like there are frontline young workers, not young, but not in the above 65 age range, right?
Yeah.
There are, the vaccine is out there, and I think Biden was talking about like today or like the past few weeks about how they plan to have enough for all adults after May 1st or
so I'll talk a little bit about that. We need to get to 70 to 90% immune in order to achieve the herd immunity that they talk about. So they have ramped up the rate at which they're giving vaccines. Some of this is Trump's doing, of course, with his Operation Warp Speed. But a lot of it is also Biden. Essentially, they're looking to have enough doses by May to vaccinate the population. And then with the time that it takes by August, they believe that we will have 90% herd immunity, which means the pandemic is essentially done.
Yeah.
By August in the United States of America, I should say. That's not true globally. But in the United States, if we reach 90%, if the projections are true and we reach 90% by August, the pandemic is essentially done here.
Yeah. There are some studies about like LA and how Los Angeles is having like a slower like daily caseload. And this is kind of just speculation, but they were saying that it's probably because so many people have already caught it, and the fact that the most of the people that you're interacting with either are doing very strict quarantine or they've been out the entire time and probably have already caught it or caught a little bit of it and have already developed antibodies.
They're saying like it's to the point now where the people who were reckless have caught it and the people who are being safe are continuing to be safe.
Yeah. So yes. So we are already seeing the beginnings of herd immunity.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And of course, if you open things back up, radically and
as some states are doing
violently, then obviously that would stop being the case because there'd be more people out. But
yeah,
I think it'll be a balance for a long time of being precautious and avoiding certain areas and certain events.
Yeah, I think certain things as well will take longer to restart. I think concerts, for instance, all those
indoor
bodies
concerts, for sure.
In giant building, it's usually pretty hot in there because of all the body heat and everything. That's a perfect environment for the spread of this disease.
My mom was talking about the other day how there's an indoor gym in our county, and they are not enforcing mask policy, and she was literally taking the class from outside because she didn't want to be inside because my mom is a rational person and I love her. And she said that when she went inside to like put down her weights or whatever, like the inside of the gym was literally hot and muggy.
Yeah.
Which is the exact, circumstances where coronavirus is going to spread. So it's like, that's not something that we can be doing yet. And if we are, it needs to be, outside. Use my mom as an example again. She's a Zumba teacher. And they've done outside classes, very spread out. Everybody's wearing masks.
I didn't know your mom did that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, like obviously, she is the example of the small business owner that has adjusted to the climate, right?
Right.
So there is
my gym, the gym that I used to go to, I don't anymore, but the gym that's right up the street from me, they're all outside. No one goes inside, and they've set up all the equipment out there and everything. So
yeah, it'll always be a balance. And that's why I get so mad when people say, Los Angeles isn't handling it and they're not that they aren't handling it, but they're going too far and California is taking people's rights and enslaving people. It's like people are going to the gym, people are going to restaurants, people are still like doing all of the things.
Yeah, I was in LA a couple weeks ago. They're like, it's LA.
It's not that stuff is wide open like a Texas, but we are the example.
It's not a prison state.
We're doing the balance that is exemplified, and we are ahead of the vaccine schedule. We are like one of the most vaccinated states. So it's like, I really have a problem with the crap that California gets.
Yeah, we get a lot of it, but you know, it is what it is.
It's almost completely inaccurate.
But yeah, I mean, I think what I want to say, and I said this, at least a similar thing the last time that we talked about the pandemic specifically. There's light at the end of the tunnel here. Mm-hmm. But we just got to keep doing the things that we've been doing. You know, keep wearing our masks. You know, keep distancing to the best of our abilities. Avoid crowded places. And get vaccinated, and we're almost there. We're almost there.
And it makes sense, like how, like we were saying, with the individual like experiences everyone's had, like everybody is feeling a type of way, some sort of depression or anxiety, you know, after what we've, you know, I would say learned this past year about our country and, you know, our society and that kind of thing. So I feel like, you know, if you're ever feeling lost, just, you know, talk to somebody, and because they'll probably, you know, relate and understand that you'll probably have more in common with people than what you disagree with. I'll always be an advocate for that. So yeah. just you know, just talk to people and learn,
keep living,
and it's gonna be okay. I truly believe it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's get into our sandwich. We're going to talk about the relief bill that was recently amended.
This is what I'm talking about. This is the light.
This is the light.
This is one of the. This is like.
So we're talking about how we're getting out of the disease. This is how we get out of the economic recession that we've talked about a lot of times on this show. That came from the pandemic. So what is it, Brandon? What went into this amended relief bill?
Honestly, this bill is really, really solid. As a leftist, there's always going to be more that we want from the government, but this is everything we asked for and more in some cases. Yeah. I think I want to start with the unemployment, because I think that's an undeniable good thing. Yeah. Under the Senate version that President Joe Biden signed today, federal unemployment insurance payments will remain at $300 per week, which is down from the $400 per week in the earlier passage passed by the House. But these benefits will extend through September 6th, which is your boy's birthday. Oh, September 6th is my birthday. I don't know if y'all know that, but that's
I know it when it's close, but you know, this time of year I probably wouldn't have been able to guess it.
Yeah. So that makes that's huge, because you know how many people are unemployed. I think another great thing that was put into this bill a little earlier was, you know, making sure that gig workers and independent artists and that kind of thing, they're going to be available. So as long as they're on this program through September, I think that's huge in and of itself.
Yeah, that'll get a lot of people out through. And like we said, August is looking like when things are going to start to return to normal economically. And
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they might need another minimal bill at that point. Like that's not something I'm against. So that's good. That's great. And then another controversy that kind of popped up recently as tax season was coming around is that people who went on unemployment were going to have to pay a lot on the unemployment taxes that were, because you could choose whether or not to take them out.
Yeah, I of course chose to take out my taxes when I was on unemployment.
Yeah, I did it sometimes. I didn't do it every time because I wasn't really thinking, honestly, if I'm going to be honest. But there were a lot of people who never did it.
Yeah,
which is, you know, it's an option, so it's a choice, but it's like, without thinking about it, suddenly your tax bill is going to be $15,000 and you still don't have a job and your unemployment has been dwindling, so you are even worse off than you were, you know, in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, and you spent all that money already too.
Yeah, likely. I mean, because you had to, usually.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a huge problem. It was going to be a huge problem because people were not going to be able to pay the taxes. So the new Senate bill actually makes the first $10,200 in unemployment payments non-taxable with...
Ooh, that means I'm going to get a fat refund.
Yeah, with non-taxable for households with incomes under $150. And I think the $150 is a couple amount.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so from what I understand, I may be misunderstanding this, but from what I understand, if that's the case, if they're not taxing the first $10,000, and I paid taxes on the first $10,000 or whatever, because I don't think I even got $10,000.
I don't think you're gonna get a bigger refund if that's your question.
But I think that I will, because I paid more than I owe.
Yeah, but I think you would get your average tax, refund, because it wouldn't be that far off from like how much you're normally making. Like
yeah,
compared
but
to
I'm
like
not
a
getting
different
taxed
year.
on that anymore. So what I'm saying is, if I paid the taxes already, and they have my money,
Hey, yo.
and now this bill makes it so that that money is not taxable, they owe me that money,
All of it.
because I gave it to them.
Yeah.
And they don't actually like have a right to take it.
I see your line of thinking, and I can't see where it's wrong. I think you're right.
Any theories from the peanut gallery on that one? That's what I call it.
I agree. Tax returns are great, and
Get out of here. I took it back. I don't want to hear what you have to say. Tax returns are great.
That's a good segue into another thing that was in this bill.
Oh yeah, this is controversial.
Yeah, I'm actually going to come back to the stimulus payments, but I thought that this would be a good, transition into the controversial, I guess. But so the legislation will temporarily expand a child tax credit, which will increase the amount of a child tax credit to $3,000 for children ages 6 to 17 and $3,600 for children under 6. So this is extremely significant because there already is some sort of child tax credit. I think it's definitely not up to the numbers of $3,000.
No,
it's probably only a few $100s. Probably pretty hard to get. I think that this is an amazing program because it's going to all families, anybody who has children, all children, and it's going to last until September, I believe. And just the idea of people being credited for, child labor that isn't something that you're going to be paid a wage for, because it's not a job. But I mean,
strictly speaking, it's not a job.
Yeah. This is strictly, political theory thinking. Like, a mother works way harder than a lot of your average worker. That's,
yeah, that's fair to say. I think that's a fair one to say.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of harsh, but it's fair, right? Mothers work extremely hard, but when do they?
And it's not 9 to 5 either.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 24 hours a day.
So I think policies like this
keep doing what you're doing.
Are fundamental in just kind of adequately valuing people for what they do, in a society that kind of values clocking in and clocking out more than the family structure, I guess.
Yeah, that's a reasonable point.
Yeah, and it's going to protect and like the headlines about how this is going to bring millions of people out of poverty, and it's going to just it's going to lift people, and with that money they're going to be able to spend more and buy more things and return that money back into the economy. So this is good for the families, good for the household, but it's good for companies too that are going to be able to sell more things because people have more money. It's just good for the economy to give money out like this. I will always be in favor of that.
Yeah, I mean, more money to spend on goods and services, which rotates the economy. That's basic neoliberal economic theory, right, Jack Carmen?
Yeah, and of course this won't fix the inner city. It won't fix rural communities, but this is good, and it's going to make people feel good. It'll return a sort of just pride, and I was watching this, I forgot, I think it was Vox, and she was just talking about how hard it is to be relying on unemployment, and how a year ago she was strong, she was had her own job, was paying her own rent, she has a child, everything was chill, and then she gets injured, she's now disabled, she has tens of thousands of dollars in medical debt. She can't afford to give her children the life she needs anymore. She's worried about her children realizing that they're poor, and she's worried about them, feeling, disheartened, and because she's visibly stressed about her inability to pay rent. And like she's like, I went to therapy, but like my problem is that I'm poor, so it's like there was nothing for them to do.
Yeah.
And this kind of policy is an exact direct address of that problem.
Yeah, answering. Yeah,
I think it's beautiful. So
yeah, that's good.
I think things like this should be permanent, even if it's not $3,000 forever. I think things like that need to be permanent.
Yeah, that's an excellent social program.
Yeah,
I'm gonna add to the list.
And it's the next thing, and it's very similar to your stimulus checks. Like when people are talking UBI, when people are talking things like this, like the stimulus checks, a child tax credit is basically the same thing. You know, it's being it's actually kind of connected to something. It's not like, okay, you're a citizen, so you get money. This is really interesting because it's like you are a mother and you spend this much on your child every month, and therefore you deserve this much back. It's easier to argue for something like that over than the UBI debates.
Yeah, because the UBI, you when you think of UBI, you think of the dude like in his basement, like taking government checks and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's the common like conservative argument that is pulled from that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you think of like a mother with children, it's hard to argue giving that person money and making sure that person is getting what is needed, you know?
Exactly.
Because that's very specific, very direct.
And like it's something most people can get behind. Like even the most conservative guy, you know, loves his mom. So let's get to the stimulus checks.
Even bad men love their mamas. If anyone can in the comment section tell me what that quote is from, what movie that quote is from, I will give you $10 in person.
No Country for Old Men.
Nope.
The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Nope. Any guesses back there?
Nothing.
Gran Torino.
Nope.
Okay.
Even bad men love their mamas.
Even bad men love their mamas.
Gonna have to get back to you.
I'll be in the comment section with the audience. Okay, you'll see me in there. So let's get to the stimulus checks, because I think there is a lot more debate over this in the left, just because of the new requirements that were put on it. So originally, the cutoff was $100,000.
Yeah, now it's
and it was lowered to $75,000.
Yeah.
And of course, a second thing that you can get mad about is when the Democrats said that they would raise the checks to $2,000, and then that it never was raised to $2,000, and instead it was, you know, plus $600, and then now it's just a second $1,400, which you can get mad about, or you can, you know, appreciate it.
I mean, that is $2,000.
I mean,
you mean it's not a direct $2,000 payment from them on top of the $600 stimmy. That's what you mean, right?
What they said was we're going to raise it to $2,000, and I feel
but that is what they did.
I feel like what it is two separate $1,400s.
So
and all of this is just semantics and not really important.
But it's a $1,400 check and a $600 check. Those two checks together make $2,000. So if what they said was,
oh, I forgot the second $600.
If there's only one $600.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot that they actually did that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so they've raised it to $2,000. However, I do recall them saying that they were going to just do a full nother bill that was going to be an additional $2,000, not meet $2,000. So if that's your argument,
I think the entire point with this debate is that the messaging was very convoluted and confusing, and allowed people to, you know, come away with the perspective that they did less. And that's just because the Democrats were just kind of iffy about it. And that's because there is a lot of debate within the party right now over how much we should do and how far we need to go. And
leftist infighting, we talked about it. Like
I was saying with the child tax credit, I think stimulus checks are a good thing, but I do think it's a band-aid to cover some of the larger issues that just happened with, you know, poverty and wealth redistribution in this country. So I'm never going to be against stimulus checks, but there's more to do.
Yeah.
And
it's a band-aid solution, as they say.
And in the case of what's going to raise more people out of poverty, it's going to be the child tax credits. Most of the money that's coming from this bill to the direct person is from the child tax credit.
Yeah.
And like, I think you get some extra money from the stimulus check if you have children, but
yeah.
And dependents get checks, which is
dependents get checks this time around. That's huge. That's huge.
So
if you're over 18 in college, still a dependent.
Never forget that this Democrat sponsored bill is way stronger than the Republican bill. And it takes what they did and made it even better and accomplishes those goals stronger.
Yeah, I on that point, I think that it's important to denote that, you know, here on this show, I am very fond and protective of Joe Biden. However, we will make criticisms of Democrats because Democrats do foolish things sometimes and make the wrong choices. And that is going to be true of this president as well, you know. And I think some of that did happen with this stimulus, for sure. And the thing about it is, when you compare it the way you compare it, right? You look at the Republican stimulus and what happened with that.
Yeah.
And you compare it to the new Democratic stimulus, you go, yeah. But when you think of the you know, the progressive mindset that we have and some of the
100% answer.
Yeah.
The perfect answer.
It is not the perfect answer. It is far from the perfect answer.
No. And it's not, the job isn't done. Like, Biden's administration doesn't start and like, there is more I want to say about the bill before like I get into like, this is kind of like a conclusion, but the Biden administration is not going to start and finish with this COVID relief, you know, like,
yeah.
And it, like this is not even like, this is like the beginning. This is not like a great sign of what we're going to get. Like, this is the first thing. There's going to be a lot more challenges for this president.
Yeah.
It would have been nice, and I know this is just a critique about our institution. This isn't a critique about Biden with a COVID relief bill, but it would have been nice to have this bill like 8 months ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's another point as well.
That's the big point. That's the whole story. Like,
yeah, it took way too long. Faltering economy, increase of homelessness, increase of unemployment. I mean, we were in August, we were swinging open. Like, I was worried about economic collapse. So yeah, it took way too long. That's an excellent point.
For a lot of people, it's already too late. They've already lost their homes to foreclosure or, are already in the streets. So
that's why I hate the point where I hear people say more people die from the response to the pandemic than from the actual pandemic. Well, that's because our response was ass, right? Like, you can't blame, what did Trump say? We can't have the solution.
The solution cannot be worse, or the solution cannot be worse than the problem, or something like that.
That's because Trump and them are offering awful solutions that actually allowed the problem to continue and get worse for way longer than it had to.
Yeah.
So it's like, I forgot where that came from, but
yeah, we were I guess ruminating on the fact that this took a long time.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, this, I said this last week a lot too. Like, this was not some kind of accident. These were policy choices by these people. Like, Florida, there was a great John Oliver this week. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I did see this one.
Florida's unemployment system was intentionally designed to hurt people and push them off the unemployment system. So it's like, y'all have, abandoned your people, literally.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. So
yeah.
And there was another great article I saw this week, and it was like, Biden is the un-Trump. And it's like, that's amazing. That's exactly what we need, actually. We need someone who is going to
un-Trumpify,
root out all of the little fascist things that will eventually push us over the line.
Yeah.
I would like, as we're recovering from this emergency that we've suffered as a nation, I would like to see Americans unanimously gather together and say, hey, this can't happen again, this gross negligence. And honestly, under any normal circumstances, the people who were responsible for this would be voted out of office.
Well, one of them was, at least.
Hey.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of them. Let's speak our voice 2022 midterms and say, hey, gross negligence in the government is not okay, regardless of who does it, and vote these people out. So.
And it makes me so mad because it's hard to even like diagnose that to people who already don't believe that, right? It's like, it's become so divisive that it's literally Trump good or Trump bad. And if you already believe Trump good, anything you just said is not going to come through.
Well, yeah, if you hate Trump, you hate America. That's like fascism to a T. There you go.
Yeah, it's I don't know what the solution is yet. You know, my solution is always just, you know, make our policies better.
We just keep talking.
And keep talking.
You keep talking. You keep open the lines of discourse, because when those fail, we're going to see a much different looking play. I know you like people say that the communication now is bad and divisive.
No. I mean, no.
Like, look at Myanmar right now. Look at China and Hong Kong. Yeah. And like that's fucking divisive. Okay, what we got going on here is baby shit, but we still need to watch out for these type of tendencies, as you say, Jack Tarman. Yeah, we kind of tangented super hard there.
Yeah,
let's go back to talking about the stimulus relief.
Well, that's kind of the conversation I wanted to have about, you know, the future of the party and the future of this country. But okay. Let's talk first about like who actually was, you know, the people themselves who were against this bill, and who voted against it, who voted for it, and what happened to the $15 minimum wage. And but yeah, so read some of that right there.
So this seems like the thing that like a stimulus is one of those things that you'd wish, at the very least wish, would be something that our elected legislators could come together on. I mean, we're talking about literally actively helping the American people in a time of crisis. That's what we're talking about.
A bill that y'all already passed last year. It's the same provisions, just different numbers.
Yeah, it's just higher numbers. Like, that's the only difference. Well, there's
marginally higher numbers.
But yeah, you would hope. But it turns out that's not the case. In fact, even though most Democrats voted for this, there was a single Democrat who did not in the House of Representatives. Every Democrat in the Senate voted for it. Every Democrat in the House of Representatives but one voted for it. And that guy was Jared Golden of Maine. He says that essentially the changes that the Senate made it impossible for him to vote for it. And I have a quote from him here, because I think it's interesting.
I think it's important.
He says, while the Senate made modest changes to the legislation, some of those changes undermined parts of the bill that I do support, and others were insufficient to address my concerns with the overall size and scope of the bill. Although I support the Senate's effort to reduce the number of wealthier households that will receive stimulus checks, they did not go far enough. And other changes, like removing the minimum wage increase or providing a lower unemployment benefit, undermining policies that I support. So essentially, the bill that passed in the House went to the Senate. They made some changes, and it ruined it for him. It was basically what he's saying. And I think this argument is fine. And since he wasn't like the deciding vote, I can't hold it against him for standing up for his principles, you know? If you truly believe this thing. I think it is a strange stance to take, though. You know, like, this country is about compromise. You'll hear me say that over and over again. And, you know, sometimes you're not going to get everything you want in a piece of legislation. And sometimes you're going to get some things you don't want in a piece of legislation. And that's just the nature of a bicameral democracy, republic. But yeah, you know, rumble, young man.
And I actually see it from the other side.
Pitter patter.
I see it from the other side, of course, because I think this is a very, you know, of course, like you said, you respect him, but I think that's valiant, and it's, you know, it's the beauty of compromise. It's the beauty of democracy.
Well, the other thing that's beautiful about democracy, though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, is that he can say this shit.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't have to do what the Republicans did, and I'll talk about that in a second, and have no individual voices among them. Right? Yeah, exactly. He is an individual voice on the left.
And he has an actual policy that he's suggesting, and he's making a real argument.
Yeah.
And standing alone in that uncomfortable position to take, where, I mean, he's not the only progressive Democrat that had a problem with this bill.
Yeah.
So I think there's some issues with, you know, the solidarity there and that kind of thing. You know, we can never kind of work together to get things we want. There's always kind of just, you know, partisan infighting even within our own party, which I think is kind of the bigger thing there, even within the progressives.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he, took the stance and took the time and decided to, push.
Well, it worked out for him because he made it onto the PB&J podcast, which of course is the highest esteem that you could get as a elected representative of our government.
Never even heard of him, but but this is the point I always make to you, Peter, about compromise, and there is a much healthier and we can both agree a better compromise that can be found between the Jared Goldens and the Joe Manchins.
Yeah. And
that legitimate compromise in between those is often ruined by one, the Republicans, and secondly, I would say conservative mindset. Mm-hmm. And then third, I will just say by how, power works in Washington and how power is set up in, mm-hmm. capitalist democracies.
Yeah.
It's hard for this one guy to make his very valid point when he is surrounded by 300 other people who were elected simply because they had views that were more status quo. It's not a fair debate. It's not a fair place for him to be in, where he's basically one good faith actor surrounded by a bunch of people who aren't.
Yeah.
That's my problem with that's my problem with all Republicans and some Democrats.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time shitting on Democrats. I'm trying to fix that because Republicans are dude. Y'all didn't vote for this bill that y'all said was good.
Exactly.
So
I was speaking of bad faith.
Yeah.
No Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for this bill.
We've got sensible far left guy, and of course we've got the nonsensical far left. We've got nonsensical liberals too, but we've got sensible guy on the far left, we got sensible guy on the middle left, and we've got conservatives they're not even doing politics anymore, man.
Yeah.
What happened these last few weeks have been just absolutely disgusting.
Now a zero-sum game. It's the man said.
It's unhinged. The culture wars just gotten unhinged. I was a kid during the Obama era, so I wasn't really watching everything closely. Bro, we are arguing about Mr. Potato during stimulus debates. Come on. And it's not even just an internet thing. We got people who in Congress talking about Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head and shit. And nobody cares. And it's not that we care. It's not that we don't care, so we're taking it from you. It's that literally most people don't care. And a company is doing what they want, and now people are enraged just because it's it's nothing. There's nothing there. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, there's so much real shit that needs to happen, and that's when I say no, we can't compromise with that. No, we literally have to make sure that people who are focused on that kind of thing are voted out of office. We need to make sure that we're replacing them with people who are focused on substantive issues. Remember last podcast or the other one where we were Mitch McConnell says he's going to focus on the substantive debates, the robust debates of substance. That's what he said. Robust debates of substance. Where are we at now? 3 weeks later, where are we at now?
Yeah, 100% no vote on
exactly
saving America.
So, and I'm kind of ranting now, but
yes.
Do you think that the appeals to compromise work for people that are on the other side? I
think at the very least, those appeals make them look worse.
Okay.
At the very least.
Okay.
At the very best, maybe we can get something done.
At the very best, we get 10 Republicans to vote with us.
So, maybe, and even more, I would say at the very best. I don't think you'd get, I don't think you'd get 20, but you might get 13, 14.
Yeah.
So you always have to go for the compromise first, because you have instances in which you could alienate potential allies just by being aggressive in your discourse. And this is the problem that a lot of radicals have. You alienate moderates, you alienate even some liberals in some instances, and then all of a sudden you're alone fighting the fascist. No wonder, the communists lost in Germany. Like,
True.
So you have to at the very least try to compromise with these people, because at best you could get something done. At worst, you make them look like the fools that they are.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do, because what else is there? We gonna hang these guys for treason? Probably not. We gonna oust them from office in a coup d'etat? Probably not.
What they are doing is treason, though.
You can argue that. I'm just saying, the practical solution to these problems is to talk, because the practical solution in the United States is to talk.
I think it's a lot easier to, kind of express your ideas and get people to listen and kind of understand where you're coming from. Like, that's always going to be a more expedient solution than like an election.
Yes.
And then elections are always going to be more expedient than revolutions.
Yes.
So, like, I think this is kind of off topic, but I think as radicals and like just being a little more online as of the like pandemic, I have found myself in a little more leftist communities. There are people who are truly disconnected from what works materially.
Yes.
And I think it's extremely important to just actually take what we have right now instead of being ideology first.
Yeah.
And that's my same problem with conservatives, and I mean, honestly, anybody. Like,
yeah, ideologues are bad all around. It doesn't matter what part of the spectrum you're on. Yeah.
You can't go into the book expecting to know how it's gonna go, right?
Yeah.
You gotta fucking like read the cover, read the back, and read the prologue and say, okay, here's what we have. And then here's where we're gonna go. So,
and here's where we are, right? And
Yeah. So,
exactly.
So once again, there's always middle ground there, but this all kind of doesn't work when we have a Senate that is not, built for debate. I don't think it's when people say it's the what do they say is the highest form of debate,
of discourse. Yeah.
Of discourse. Yeah. I don't think it is. There's like we were talking about earlier, there's all of these rules that make it.
I had better debates in high school against high school students than they do on the floor of Congress, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And anybody who judged debate tournaments in high school or anything like that knows that to be true. These high school kids care more about what comes out of their mouth than these politicians do. And
they talk slow.
Yeah.
They talk so slow. But like the rules of the Senate are like inherently undemocratic when we look at, the
filibuster.
The filibuster itself. But before we get into that, like just how people are represented. Just like I've changed my mind on like Senate abolition and like electoral college abolition. Yeah, I've learned that term this week actually. But I've defended the electoral college on this podcast, and I don't think I could anymore because it's not democratic. It's not equalitarian. It's
equalitarian. That's a good word.
I'm sorry. I don't think it's a real word. I think the word I meant to say was egalitarian. Egalitarian. Yeah.
We got there.
Yeah. Equalitarian.
Honestly, that sounds better though.
Yeah. What's egal?
Yeah. What the heck is an egal?
Sounds like God.
It's the
trying to come over and see my egal.
It's the bald egal, brother. It's the bald egal.
It's bald.
That's how America is so free.
We should write satire because all it is that you just gotta bounce off words and.
It's the bald egal, brother.
I'll bounce off your words if you know what I mean.
I'll bounce off your bald egal.
It's a symbol of America's freedom and equality, brother.
But yeah,
I think this next debate over the filibuster will be an interesting, policy discussion because one, there's the challenge of
you wait for the final filibuster, dude.
the final
We're
filibuster.
Not leaving this floor.
Yeah, they're gonna filibuster this vote. You watch.
That's going to be the best filibuster movie since
hours.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Absolutely.
But
no, they're going to filibuster that vote.
Oh, of course.
What if they start doing Mr. Smith Goes to Washington?
What if it's just Bernie up there? I am filibustering this because I like the filibuster, even though I don't like the filibuster.
It's a great twist of events.
I just like doing
And I want
them.
to be the last one that ever does it.
He just likes doing them. He just has fun doing it. He has fun.
It's not going to be around anymore. I figured this is the best opportunity.
Any chance I get to fight for the working people, I will do it.
I'm going to read the Communist Manifesto.
8 hours. 8 hours later.
Gotcha.
8 hours later.
It's
dude.
really.
But I think, in reality, I think it's going to be a good debate between, like we were saying earlier, should we do it or should we not do it, and how far should we go in reforming it, and should we get rid of it? You know, it's going to be another debate where you can see kind of the discrepancies, or you know, the divide between conservatives, liberals, and the Bernie left.
The burn.
You know, I don't, there's not a lot to say on it yet, because honestly, I don't think it's going to happen that there's going to be any change on the filibuster.
We shall see.
But the history and the future of the filibuster is...
Such a silly word.
I'm filibustering.
Get out of it.
Like a fucking cream-filled donut.
I'm gonna stop you right there.
The innuendo. So you had the innuendo. And
Yeah.
you went with it like that with it.
Well, you interrupted me with innuendos while I was doing my political coverage.
Hey,
I just said filibuster was a funny word.
It was on my mind.
I'm gonna turn this podcast around.
Okay. Oh, that's funny. I didn't get it. Oh, I didn't get it. Keep our. That's
You didn't
funny.
get the dad joke, Brandon?
No, I didn't.
Jack Tunney's dad of the set.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of our entirety on the stimulus. Any
Sandwichy.
I can't wait to get it.
I can't wait to blow
Can't
that
wait
money.
to get it. I literally just blew $1,500
Oh, I got two
on a
interesting-
laptop before the show. I need the money.
Let's go.
Yeah.
it to
So Jen Psaki.
Can we?
I don't care how to say her name. I was gonna diss the fuck out of her before you interrupted. So
Go on.
let's keep moving.
Go on, go ahead.
No,
Go
I
ahead,
don't
do
want to.
Okay.
Every time I see her, I dislike her more every time.
Usaki?
And
She's the press secretary for Biden.
Oh.
and honestly,
She's not that bad. This guy's-
no. But and I think this is something Jack said earlier. I think it's important to kind of separate my anger at institutions and my anger for Democrat policy.
And also
If
the
that makes-
individuals like Jen Psaki, who is also at the mercy of the system that you so dislike.
Yeah, but she's a figurehead, which is I think different.
Okay.
She's literally the press secretary, which means she's gonna get shit on by the press.
Well, yeah, it's her job.
Yeah, it's her job. So fuck you. No, I'm the press now,
No.
and I'm secretary.
We're the press now.
Let's put the press secretary
But
in a one-way
To bed.
box so that only they can see out of it, and they just ask the box questions, and there's just no
Oh, so
figurehead.
you know what they really should do is just get a computer that has automated responses.
No. I'm saying this because the
I had an
box
important
would
point.
also have a hung painting of just Joe Biden's face, just on the front of it.
Oh, right. Okay, so we're going to the paintings now.
Guys,
Yeah.
I think we're putting too much pressure on the press secretary. I think we need to cut it back here.
I think I'm gonna high five you.
Is that
for
a joke?
one.
Take 20 to 30% off there, Squirrely Dan.
Wait, was that supposed to be like a pressure secretary
That
joke?
was a
Yeah,
press. that was
press
a
secretary. We're putting too much pressure. on
Yeah,
the
I hated that.
Yeah, I hated that.
No.
Too. I hated every second of it.
I liked it. But my point in bringing her up was that she said that the plan is to have these checks start going out as soon as this weekend, which is super awesome because it did not happen that fast last time. That's going to be in the audio. That's funny.
I really hope that didn't mess up.
No,
But-
we're totally screwed now.
The important point is this. Here's where I was going. I didn't even really care about the Jen Psaki. Is that where you-
Psaki. No, it's Jen Psaki.
Okay, I thought you
No,
were-
but I thought you were gonna chuckle at the name because you were on the innuendos.
No.
Because you said Jen Psaki and then you paused and your mouth was doing that thing when you're about to laugh.
No, yeah, I was gonna be mean.
So I reacted too soon.
yeah.
Get to your point.
There was an article or like a study or whatever, like a poll that said that young adults dependents are planning on using most of their $1,400 for stock buys, which I thought was pretty interesting. That like Look, you give young people money, they're gonna do something with it. They might lose money on the stock market, but
That'd be crazy.
they're investing in themselves and they're investing in their,
What percent of the population is under 25? Anyone know that?
Let's find that and wrap this up.
Yeah. No, I don't care actually. But yeah, that'd be crazy if like we just as a youth body used the buying power of the stimulus to like affect the market. We could do that easily.
Yeah, we could all buy GME, buy some GameStop,
Yeah,
bro,
let's buy some GameStop.
and hold.
Not on Robinhood though.
Also, GameStop is going up again,
Mhm.
and then it like fell by 100, but then it went up.
Mhm.
So this just is to kind of end my point about if you give people money and address like the concerns of impoverished people, they will like, it'll have results.
Yeesh.
Like, give money, people are less poor, people are happier, people are going to be able to, go out and maybe find an apartment, find a roommate, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And that's very, neoliberal politics, but it's it's something we can do right now, and it's something that works. So fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Don't call me a lib. So it's my socialist friends who are watching. Don't call me a lib.
Don't give me that look.
But yeah, that wraps up our sandwich. So let's go to the milk. This milk is a juicy one
That's what
today.
I'm talking about, everyone. We're
Juicy
introducing
milk.
the new segment of the milk where Jack Tunney chugs an entire gallon and behind the guys while they tell
Is that
you
possible?
Drink.
Can you
Well,
drink
no,
a whole gallon of
I
milk?
would throw up. It
Yeah.
would, it would be terrible.
Oh,
my
That was
God.
not supposed to come out of this,
Oh no. Leak.
but we're gonna try it
okay. I'm
next
gonna
week.
start the milk now.
Leak.
Stop leaking.
Okay,
good info.
so the question that I have, for the room, for the audience, why the fuck does England still have a monarchy?
I don't got an answer for you, bud.
Or Mark,
Well, I got
God
an
save
answer
the
for
queen.
you.
God save the queen.
God save the queen, bruv.
Let me say my point first.
Bro.
Yeah, I think we'll get to the answer to that question on the back end. All right.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I want to say what I want to say. I want to go first,
Okay, and then I'll go second.
and then you go second,
Okay, and then
Okay.
it's your turn.
and that's my turn again,
Okay.
and then you go again.
That's sharing.
Yeah, that's sharing is good.
Compromise.
That was
Couldn't get that with the monarchy.
that was awful.
Couldn't get that under the monarchy.
So yeah, with the recent bombshell interview by royal family members Harry and Meghan, which I cared about very little, by the way. I've restarted my criticism in opposition to the crown. Now, this does not come directly from the things that Meghan and Harry said happened, which I think are abhorrent, and I believe. This comes from a long-lasting feeling that I've had about monarchies,
Yeah.
even constitutional monarchies.
Yeah.
And it was re-upped by the fact that every news website for 3 days was talking about this fucking story.
Mm-hmm.
As if I care. But okay.
Of course. And I just want to push back on the word not caring, because I think you care. I think most people do care about, and you say you don't care about the actual individuals, like the actual story for reference, right? Like, but I think the actual story is what makes it such a bombshell. I don't think it's not common for us to get kind of these kind of insider scoops into one of the most powerful families on earth. So I think that's why it was seen as such a bombshell, because there's never been someone who has stepped up and said, hey, this royal family, what we're doing with this exact, race subject is bad. So I'm going to kind of leave and protect my family. Like, I think that's like, it's beyond huge. Like it's
cool. Yeah.
It's paradigm shattering.
Yeah. For me though.
Yeah, I know.
And those
this is
things
for most Americans.
Those things are true.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. And she talked about mental health. She talked about race issues. She talked about
the effects of the institution on
the
her
effect.
mental,
Yeah. And even specific things people said to her, right? Like all that stuff is important, for certain people who, want to relate to that and whatever. I just think that comparatively to like what is happening in the world, I didn't want to read headlines on Harry and Meghan for 3 days.
for sure.
And I also couldn't believe, and I still can't believe, that there is a Queen of England who has a role and is doing things and gets money from the British people. Like, all of those things are crazy to me. And I wanted to read a quote.
I want you to get into the quote, but I think you should get into it later.
Okay.
I wonder if there is a sizable portion of England that doesn't recognize the racist history of the monarchy and colonialism. Because, I mean, as a young person, earlier we were talking about Princess Diana. I mean, I know nothing about that. I know nothing about the history of, you know, what they've done to their own, you know, culture.
Princess
kind of
Margaret as well was kept from like marrying an individual who she wanted to because of his birth. This family is like very.
So I think it might not be important, but I think it's a learning experience for a lot of people who may not know these things.
Who may not know that there's racism in the whitest family and most inbred family left in the world.
Yeah, if you really think, oh yay. I mean, there are people who think like that royal family is like reality TV show. Maybe you're kind of complaining about the same person, but there are people who don't know anything and they clap, yay queen, yay look at the fancy dress, yay look at the big castle, yay, you know, and not realizing that all of that money and wealth is built literally on murder of black people and like stealing land and that sort of shit. So, and like, of course that's worse than, you know, treating this one person bad, but it's another like insider look that environment still exists.
Yeah. Okay. So a question on that. Do you feel that two things? A, do you feel that any significant change will be made regarding race in England as a result of Meghan talking to Oprah?
Yeah, but that's not Meghan's fault.
No, I'm not saying it is.
Yeah.
You don't think that there is going to be any significant change on that part?
It's too ingrained in society.
Okay. Second part. Do you think that if it was solved, if this racism issue, which of course it could never be, but let's just say hypothetically,
they address it
and they somehow fix the issue, right?
Sure.
Do you think in that case England should still have a queen?
Yeah. Well, no. No. Yeah. Okay. I didn't mean to say yeah at all at that point. I was gonna say yeah. I see your point now. You were calling out the entire existence of the monarchy.
I'm calling out the institution. Like what Harry and Meghan said. First of all, they were part of that institution. Second of all,
pariahs within it.
Yeah, but you're the black sheep of the rich. Like,
still a black sheep.
Okay, I'm sorry, but we're talking about comparative privilege here, and I don't want to. But I think regardless of what they said, my feelings about the monarchy and the existence of said monarchy and the reasons for said monarchy, like, I just think they're all ridiculous, and it shouldn't be. So I'm going to read this quote because it hits it on the nose.
But how do you feel about, like, if you feel that the monarchy is stupid, how do you feel about intergenerational wealth then? Like, because there are rich people who have done very little to actually deserve their wealth, and they, you know, float around on a cloud and have never touched the bottom for generations. And so my point is that this is a very common thing. And like these families, right?
Yeah.
And they are not always, but they're protected by the status quo where being a billionaire is seen as the goal and it's the best thing to be. And being a queen is the best thing to be. And there can never be anything wrong with being the queen. There can never be anything wrong with being a billionaire. This kind of just calls that out. Like it just wakes people up from that sleep, that very easy sleep to fall into.
I don't think that it does, though. I don't even want to have that argument, but I like in and of itself don't think that it does.
Yeah,
because if it's true, I mean, and I believe that it is true what you were saying about England and you know that ingrained racism that exists in the elite classes is, you know, and spreads all the way down.
Yeah, and you're not debating that the existence of that.
No, I'm all I'm saying is that Meghan Markle saying what she did not going to have an effect on that.
Yeah.
And my grander point, even outside of it, is that I don't care what those people, not just Harry and Meghan. I don't care, not just what Harry and Meghan say. I don't really care what Queen Elizabeth says. I don't care what Prince Philip says.
Yeah.
I don't care what any of them have to say. And it's because of this. And this is a New York Times opinion piece that came out. He says, the existence of a monarchy is an admission that a government can't or doesn't care to solve people's problems. Instead, it offers spectacle.
Yay, pretty queen. Yay, pretty dress. Look at the castle.
Look at the parade.
Look at all that African gold in the Buckingham Palace.
Have you ever seen the Indian jewel? Like there's like a jewel that they stole from India that is like in one of the museums.
I thought it was in Buckingham Palace.
Yeah,
it
probably,
might be in Buckingham Palace.
I forgot what it is, but we looked at it in like one of my classes.
Let me get through the quote.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Jack Charles about to say something too.
Spectacle.
It has always been easier to elevate one family to a fairy tale life of luxury than to do the dreary work of elevating every single family to a decent standard of living. The common people fund the lifestyle of a tiny, exalted, and thoroughly unworthy elite, rather than the other way around. Any nation that still has a monarchy in 2021 is proving itself to have a mortifying lack of revolutionary gumption. Now, if that is not the most scathing, maybe not most scathing, but if that is not a scathing, I mean, that's accurate.
It's a rebuke on British society.
That is one of the most accurate things I've ever read. And you brought up generational wealth. This is a rebuttal of generational wealth as well.
I was going to say that too. Yeah.
This talks about, a tiny, exalted, thoroughly unworthy elite.
The common people.
I can think of people like that live in this country.
Yeah.
The only difference is those rich people, they're not using the government to take money from people.
Not all of them. Some of them are.
Well, they're exploiting and they're doing different things.
All of them are not doing that. Some of them will. That's why you can't say every elite person is bad. You can never say that.
Of course.
Some of them use their power to manipulate the system and stuff.
Of course.
But the thing about...
I shouldn't speak in totality.
Yeah. I mean, people on the left shouldn't speak in totality either. That's what I was getting at more, like eat the rich. But
only Sith
deal in absolutes.
But the thing about Britain that is different, revolving around the monarchy, is that the media was so complicit in the attacks on Meghan Markle's personality and the defense of the establishment. It was not only the institution of the crown, but the media, the financial sector.
That's part of the institution of the crown.
Yeah.
The crown is a spectacle. The crown is made so that people can look up and see the Queen of England and smile for a second and not worry about the fact that they got to go back and shovel coal. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
And it's the most expensive public works project in history.
But it's also very, very profitable for private investors.
Sure. I just think that I think that it's ridiculous to have a monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Their purpose is minimal. They serve no real purpose aside from spectacle. I mean, they're dignitaries, kind of, but if they're dignitaries, they're the most underqualified dignitaries in the history of the world. And I'm just very over it.
This picture.
I'm over it too, Peter White.